Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She really is one of those people that makes you think about your life in general, people in general, relationships, and the direction you want to go in. She's always made me think when we get done, I'm like, thank you, Winnie. Like, I never even thought of that. And she is Winnie Chan Wang. She's the founder and healer of Mindful Healing Heart. She's also a acupuncturist and does so much in terms of coaching. And it's great to have her back with us. Winnie, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
One of the things we're going to talk about today is ego, having a healthy ego versus not so much. And I guess the other side of the scale would be humility. I don't detect like a major ego on you at all. You seem very low key, chill, very grounded.
Oh, no, Steve. I think I do a very good job maybe hiding it.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have an ego. An ego is healthy for sure.
Yeah. So I want to distinguish between yin ego and yang ego. So it's actually the same thing. Yin ego is I'm not good enough, right? Yin ego is this sense of unworthiness. So it might manifest as body image. So maybe in the morning when you look at the mirror, you see a belly and you feel, oh, I'm not beautiful enough. Or maybe you go to a yoga class and you compare yourself against the instructor or all the other people in the class, and you say, oh, my hips are not flexible enough, or my handstand is not straight enough. There's a lot of not enough. Maybe it manifests as blockages in intimacy in your relationship, such as, oh, and sometimes we do this, we put a romantic partner on a pedestal and we're like, wow, he's so rich, he's so handsome, I don't deserve him. And in the back of my mind, there is some unworthiness. What did I do to deserve a man like this to love me? Or the same with career. I'm not worthy of abundance, getting paid. So then the flip side is yang ego. Yang ego is this arrogance, like I'm better than everybody else. Right? So yang ego might look like, look at how perfect my body is. Look at how strong I am. And, maybe I go on Instagram and post all of these workout videos so that everybody can be admiring and like my body. Maybe in terms of relationship, such as my relationship with my daughter before I had my spiritual awakening, I put myself on a pedestal. I'm the mom. I know better than you. So you have to listen to me because I'm the mom, right? So this kind of arrogance, like I know better. And, in a work situation, same thing. It's like, you know what? I deserve to be paid more. I deserve that promotion. It's just, I am better. I should have gotten recognition, but my boss didn't recognize me. And, sometimes in the workplace, we might run into people who think that all the credit should go to them instead of giving credit to the team effort. It's really funny because actually all of us have this unworthiness and all of us have this arrogance, because all of us are a unique expression So some of us are very blessed to have beautiful hair, tall, skinny, long legs. And some of us are blessed to be really rich and successful in society terms, in terms of live in a nice house, drive a nice car. Some of us have loving relationships, big network, family. I don't think I've met one person who has everything. So all of us can feel arrogant in some aspect and feel unworthy in other aspect.
Winnie, why do you think we feel unworthy?
That leads me to giving a definition of humility. So humility is the opposite. Humility is not judging other people by a measurement stick. It's not competing or comparing, but simply honoring, respecting, and appreciate that everyone is a child of God, or you can say a unique expression of the source, and that everyone is sacred and divine, whole and perfect, just as they are. So we need a Winnie in the world, we need a Steve in the world, and we need all the audience that's listening to come together to make, a diverse, vibrant world. It would be a tragedy if everybody was conforming and doing everything exactly the same. There would be no innovation, no creativity, no fun, no art, no expression.
It would be a boring world. It really would, because we'd be all the same. Granted, we would be equal, which is maybe not the worst thing in the world, but then again, there's no dynamics because it's all the same all the time. I think we would get really bored at that point.
It's interesting because we've had a lot of hierarchy, especially before COVID, right? We're so used to working at a corporation, president, vice president,
right,
and then manager and analyst. And, what is so great about COVID, I think the gift, is that everybody started working from home. Everybody started Zooming and wearing pajamas.
Well, in a way, I guess that made us more equal at that moment. You know what? We're going to jump onto a call. If you want to reach out to us, 631-319-6275. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Kaylee from South Carolina.
Hey, Kaylee, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Winnie Chan Wang is here, and we're talking about ego and things like that. Do you have a question?
Yes. So
Sure.
I'm famous for setting a goal but not sticking to the goal. Does she have any suggestions that I stick to my goal?
That is Winnie? Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm just going to repeat the question one time so all the audience can hear. So our beloved audience here says she has a goal, but she has a hard time sticking to the goal. So what it is the ego has a lot of fear.
No.
This fear, oh my God, what if I succeed? What if I fail? And I struggle with this myself all the time. I call this performance anxiety because we're always asking this question, how will I perform? So when I put the emphasis on I, me, how will people love me? How will people judge me? Are they going to give me praises or criticisms? And so I spent all day worrying about how the future is going to unfold. So I have a fear of success and a fear of failure, fear of showing up, period. What has really helped me personally is believing in a noble cause where I'm serving humanity or serving something bigger than I am. Right. So, for example, I remember the first day I was a professor as an acupuncture, I was like, oh my God, what if the Zoom dies? What if the Wi-Fi dies? What if my students, they don't want to listen to me because I'm a first day, no experience professor? And I have all these worries about what if I succeed or what if I fail? And I just remind myself, okay, Winnie, take a deep breath. Let's put your ego aside and all your fears. And let's come from, I love teaching. Let's come from, I am here to make an impact so that my students can learn about acupuncture. All I have to do is show up. You know what? If I succeed, if my students love me, great. And if I fail, great. You know what? If the Zoom dies, okay, so what's the big deal? The Wi-Fi dies. I guess I'll just have to apologize to my students. Hey, I'm sorry I can't get this Zoom working. Hey, I'm sorry I can't control the Wi-Fi of this building, right? Just learn from the mistakes.
And don't worry about them. And you know what you're saying was one of my lessons recently, last like year or whatever, and somebody said this to me, why don't you ever live in the moment? I'm like, what are you talking about? Why don't you live in the moment? And then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, just what you said, Winnie. When you're thinking about the future, what if I succeed? That might not be the greatest thing. What about if I fail? Because if you think about the past, you think about the future, you usually worry about them. So don't worry, don't think about that. Just live now, enjoy now on your path to success, whatever it is, whatever your goals are. Do you think that's why she might have trouble maintaining those goals or reaching those goals?
You know, Steve, you bring up a really good point, because up until this point, I've only talked about the fear, which is a future thing. A lot of the times, what also limits me to my success is remembering my past, my track record. So, for example, last time when I went to the gym, I was only able to do 10 sit-ups. So instead of coming from a place of curiosity, well, I wonder how many sit-ups I can do today. I think, you know what, 10 is my max. So maybe I'll do 11, but I doubt I can do 20. It's impossible to do 20. So sometimes we let our past, our track record, define or limit what success, what potential we can reach.
It's so true. It's so true, because you knew what you did then. Let's say you did whatever, hypothetically, 20 sit-ups. That was yesterday, day before. You went to the gym today, you just showed up and you're like, oh, I did 20. There's no way I'm going to be able to do 30. I mean, I'd say 20, that's a lot. Now I'm going to do 30. Forget about the 20 and make this a new start. Maybe you will do 30. Have a blank slate. Do whatever you can do. Maybe you'll only hit 18. So what? It's pretty close to 20. Maybe you'll hit 28. Great, fantastic. But don't worry about, like you just said, the past, the future. Stay right here in the middle, in the now.
So I want to add one more thing. So when I mentioned about believing in the noble cause, believing in serving others, some helping other people, there's also going deep inside, because this something bigger is actually in us. We have source power that we can tap into and unlock. You know that a child gets trapped under the car and all of a sudden the mom can lift the car above her head to rescue her child? That is an example of a mother tapping into her source power. Like, science cannot explain why all of a sudden the mother can lift the car above her head to rescue the child. So imagine that all of us have access to that superpower where we can all of a sudden do things that are not explainable by science at this time. I call this magic. That all of us have this source power, this divine magic, and we just have to tap into it. And that's also part of letting go of the ego, because humility is knowing that I am divine, you are divine, everyone is divine.
When I lost, talking about humility, when I lost I don't want to say lost, I take that back. When I left a job after like 2 decades, dream job, fantastic run, it was awesome. It just didn't seem right anymore. And it was a mutual departure. But I felt like, oh, I was here and now I'm here and now I got to do this again. How's that going to go? And somebody told me, when you're at your lowest point, and I guess I was, because I was here somewhat by choice down to here. When you're at your lowest point, you're the most humble you'll ever be. And that's where you realize certain things that you never realized when you were up here.
That's a really good point. Yeah. In the beginning of the show, Steve, you said that you don't feel like I have an ego problem. That's because I've hit a lot of low points.
Ditto. Yep.
Yeah. And it's because I have had countless dark nights of the soul. I have been so dark, so lost, so confused, so no direction in my life, that I wrote the book, Honoring Darkness, Embrace Shadow Work to Nourish and Grow Your Power. And then I developed a course because I really want to help other people who are lost and stuck to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not easy to figure out alone. That's why you need a book. You need, a life coach, somebody, like you that's been there, but also knows how to take your hand and move you to the next stop or level, whatever that's going to be.
Exactly. So I actually trademarked Queen of Compassionate Transformation, because my name, Winnie Chan Wang, is really hard to spell. And I thought Queen of Compassionate Transformation is very easy to Google, but it doesn't come from, oh, look at me, I am the queen. It's actually come from the fact that if I can be a queen of compassionate transformation, then everyone can be a king or queen of compassionate transformation. It's like Yen can cook, so can you. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, if I can become a queen, so can you.
Yep. And we all can. We just need a little insight on how to get there. And at that moment, when I had left that job, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. At that point, I opened up a business because I needed to support my family at the time. That's all I had. And it kind of made it up as I went along. But you need some help along the way. You can't always do things by your own. Friends and family, that's great, but sometimes you need somebody else.
Was that helpful?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yeah. Why are we so worried about our ego? You know what it is? When you say the word ego, what do you get right away in your head?
That is a really good question, Steve. Our ego is the most precious baby that we want to hold in our arms, love, and nurture. When I think about my ego, I think about that little baby Winnie, who gets tired, who gets hungry, who gets cold, who gets overwhelmed, who needs a lot of love. So whenever my ego shows up, it's like a text message saying, hey, I'm over here, give me some loving.
And that's not a bad thing. I think a lot of the times we think, because the word ego it's almost taken as a negative. Like, look at his ego. Look at her ego. Oh, wow. It's never presented in a more positive frame of mind where, it's healthy to have an ego. You don't want to have too much. You don't want to have, low self-esteem. with a healthy balance. But ego is not a bad thing.
So I want to break down for our listeners, why do we want to be good enough, right? Why do we want to be worthy? Why do we want to show off and be arrogant about how pretty we are, or how smart we are, or how much money we have?
Mm-hmm.
The root of why we want to be good enough or show off is because our ego thinks, well, if I'm good enough, then maybe I will be loved. Maybe if I show off how much money I have, how smart I am, how beautiful I am, more people will love me. So understand that all this unworthiness and arrogance is like choppiness of the waves in the ocean, right? That's just the conversations that we have. But deep down, if you get to the bottom of it, it doesn't matter if you want to be better or you think you're really good, you're comparing yourself, judging, competing against other people. At the end of the day, every single human being has the same need, which is the need to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, the way that we can really embrace and nourish the ego is just to simply give, in my case, little baby Winnie, a lot of tender loving care.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that ever. And it's funny, if you look at the definition of what an ego is, essentially it's something that distinguishes you from me, from them, and them. That's it. It's not this monster thing inside you where you're just like, oh, I'm the best of everything. No, it's just what makes us different. That's really what it is. It can get to that point where, if you, like we said before, if you think, oh, well, yeah, I can do this and I'm better. I have more money. I'm better. Then it gets out of hand. Then you got to keep it in check, right?
And like I said, ego is such a great thing because it's the ego that makes somebody want to become a chef and become really good at cooking.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
It is the ego that makes somebody wants to cut hair and become the best hairdresser, right? It is my ego that wants to study medicine and study spirituality so I can become the best doctor out there. It's really this desire that drives us to move forward.
Without a doubt, because I don't have that drive that you have. I just don't. I don't have a desire to study medicine, none of that. And if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You wouldn't be an accomplished acupuncturist. You wouldn't be a life coach and a healer. But that was your ego saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. I can do this. I got that, without a doubt. When you wrote your book, the book about darkness, how long ago was that?
I wrote it actually with my best friend, G. Choi, earlier this year,
Okay.
January and February of 2022.
Gotcha. And did you know you wanted to write that ahead of time, or you had to go through challenging situations to prompt you to write that?
Yes and no. I did go through a very difficult divorce, and that's why I wrote the book. But the idea of the 10 shadows came to me one day while I was in vacation in Aruba. So literally, I'm sitting by the beach and bam, I got a download and says, okay, Winnie, you're going to write a book about the 10 shadows.
Wow. And did you ever have a fear that it just wouldn't get done, or it wouldn't be the way you really wanted it to be?
Funny that I actually didn't have a fear of writing or getting it done. Actually, the way the book came out was more like projectile vomiting.
Yeah.
It was like every day, what I needed to write was downloaded to me while I was sleeping. So every morning, it was in my inbox. sometimes it was downloaded to me at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., and I literally grabbed my laptop and went crazy. But the whole book was flowed, just like projectile vomiting. It just like, had to come out of me. So,
Had to get it
yeah.
out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, then I really truly believe that it was meant to be.
Yeah, it came out like a waterfall.
Wow. So if we wanted to see that book, is that on your website in order to get it?
Yeah, so my website is mindfulhealingheart.com, and you can follow me on social media. I love making short 1-minute video that's both funny, entertaining, and educational. I have an online community that supports everyone for compassionate transformation. And every Wednesday at 9:30, I release a healing blessing. So that's really a tremendous gift. I also have links to Amazon for the book.
Gotcha. When you say every Wednesday at 9:30, is that 9:30 a.m., p.m., and is that Pacific time?
Yeah, so that's 9:30 a.m. California time.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like your ego has allowed you to find your purpose.
Yeah, and honestly, I struggle just like everybody else. And that is really going back to the first episode that we do together, is we all drink from the same river, right? So the new moon and full moon, the seasons, the planets that go retrograde, it doesn't just affect one person. It affects me and it affects you. And that's why my weekly blessings are so powerful. Imagine that people have astrology forecasts, like they want to follow, oh, this is new moon in Gemini and blah, and blah, and blah, and this is how you prepare for it. Basically, the blessing that I offer is the blessing that I need, because my booty is being kicked by whatever's coming up in the collective consciousness, right? So it's really what I channel is the struggles that I'm having in real time, and I'm offering the solution in real time. So yeah, it's really, really, really priceless for me and priceless for everyone.
Yeah, it's almost like you're in therapy with yourself and everybody else.
Exactly. So I'm constantly in therapy, and I'm sharing my therapy with everyone.
Well, you know what? That's what makes you different and great at what you do, because you walk the walk. You've been there, you deal with it, and continually, and we're all dealing with stuff every day, whether somebody wants to hide that or not, we are. It's always great talking with you, Winnie. The website, mindfulhealingheart.com, and look forward to getting together with you sometime soon.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.